Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Divination Lady, and today we're going to be doing a video about the 10 fundamental rules of a card reading. So this could be for tarot or Lenormand or whatever cards, doesn't matter. If you're new to card reading or you're curious about it, these are the 10 basics that you kind of need to know. And I'm going to start, of course, with number 1 here. The first rule is to obtain a deck that you resonate with. Now, if you're thinking about, buying a tarot deck, I recommend buying the Rider-Waite deck. Here, I'll show you here. Sorry, it's upside down. And we have just the basic Rider-Waite deck. It's still one of my favorites, and it's under $20 on Amazon. And the cardstock is good. But the reason why I recommend this one is because for your first deck, you need a good basic understanding, a basic foundation. And by learning the Rider-Waite meanings, you will get that foundation. So it's good to learn about 3 keywords for each card. And then in the future, when you switch to another deck that's also Rider-Waite based, you will have an easier time. You're not always going to go by the memorized meanings, though. Especially if you want to become an intuitive reader, you're definitely not going to always go by those memorized meanings, but they're good to have. It's not wise to start reading tarot. At least I found this for me. It's better to know those meanings than rather go into it blindly. Okay. Number 2, of course, is to get acquainted with the meanings of the cards. And to do that is, the best way to do that, rather, is to practice. And by that, I mean you want to practice on yourself, you want to practice on your friends, just in a carefree kind of way, nothing too serious. You can practice by watching, sports teams and predicting which team is going to win, or what the outcome of the movie is going to be, what's going to be in the headlines in tomorrow's news, things like that. And keep a journal of it. Record all your predictions and then reflect back on them and see if it's actually accurate. And if it's not accurate, then you can still understand the cards better. So keep a journal. Okay. So the number 3 rule, and this is one of the most important things you need to know, is formulate a specific question. Okay. The more specific, the better. So if you have a question that is not very specific, the cards will answer you, but it's much, much better to narrow it down, and the cards will answer you more, like in a more refined way and a more clear way, okay? So the question that you ask the cards is so freaking important. The number 4 rule is to focus properly on the question while you're shuffling. So however you want to shuffle is up to you. There's so many different ways. There's no wrong way to shuffle as long as you're rearranging the cards properly. And while you're shuffling, make sure you're not distracted. Make sure there's not a lot of background noise or anything like that. And you're going to focus on that question. What you're doing when you're focusing is you're tuning in to this it's like a subconscious awareness, but it's also a universal consciousness. You're tuning into the universal consciousness where the information is coming from, and the cards are simply reflecting the information. But if you're not focusing properly, the wrong cards are going to come up. So you definitely need to work on focusing, and don't have any performance anxiety about it. If you think about it too much, I know myself in the beginning, I had a lot of anxiety about, oh my goodness, am I shuffling properly? Am I focusing properly? Are the right cards coming up? Well, the right cards are definitely going to come up if you're focusing properly. And, you have to believe in the process. Okay. So try to find a quiet place, calm your mind, and focus on that question. And you're tuning in to the universal consciousness where the information is coming from. Okay, so number 4. What are we on? Number 4? Nope, sorry, we're on number 5. Whoops. Okay, this is also very important. Set the intention as to how many cards you are going to pull beforehand, also what spread you're going to use. So as you're shuffling and focusing on the question, you're also setting the intention for how many cards you're going to use. And myself, I don't really use any spreads, so you don't have to. But a lot of teachers out there use like the 3-card past, present, future spread or the Celtic cross. I'm not a big fan of the Celtic cross, but each to their own, just as long as you're setting the intention before you're pulling the cards, okay? Okay, so number 6, pull the cards and casually observe without any preconceived bias. What I mean by that is, say you're doing a reading for your friend, a love reading, and she's asking something about her and her boyfriend, and you already feel very strongly that it's not going to work out between them. And then you pull the cards, and they're not really reflecting that, but you're looking for it in the cards, okay? You're looking to confirm what you feel. And while it's good to go by your instinct, if the cards are not reflecting it properly, if the cards are not the same as what you are feeling, maybe you shuffled wrong. Maybe you should do it over again. But more often than not, the right cards are coming up, but you have a preconceived bias. So you need to have an open mind, and you need to sort of observe and make a mental note of all the feelings and impressions you're getting, okay? And if you feel like you don't understand, or you feel overwhelmed and you're trying to force an answer out of the cards, then I suggest taking a break. Like, just go and go for a walk, just read a chapter in a book or something, and then come back to the cards. Of course, this only works if you're not doing a live reading or something like that. But getting that fresh perspective really definitely helps, and you might see something you didn't notice before. So again, the trick is to not force the cards to give you an answer, but rather let the cards speak to you. And this takes a lot of practice, because oftentimes we're impatient and we're frustrated because we're not getting it, and we're just trying to force things, especially if we have that preconceived bias. Okay, number 7 is the most important point, in my opinion. A lot of card readers don't understand this. A lot of new card readers, rather, is stay in the context of your question while reading the cards. So I'm trying to think of an example here. So many times someone will ask the cards a question, and then they're going to look at the cards and they're going to forget the question, and they're just going to go by the memorized meanings and go off on a complete tangent that has nothing to do with the context of the question. They've forgotten the question. Sometimes it's good to write down the question first, because that way you can, stay in the context a lot better. But you don't have to write it down. Just try to stay in the context of the question. The cards are answering you in that context. And so many card readers, when they start, don't understand this, and it's so very important. All right, so number 8, keep an open mind about what the cards are telling you. Don't let yourself get blinded by the default meanings. So this is where the memorization of the standard meanings can get in the way of what the cards are actually trying to tell you. There's probably going to be extra nuances in the details, like in the visual details of the cards. So you need to let your intuition guide you, okay? Oftentimes it's going to be a combination of the traditional meanings that you've memorized, plus your intuitive hits that you're getting, okay? So always keep an open mind. this goes kind of back to the preconceived bias point that I made. But yeah, so that brings us to number 9. Number 9 is pay attention to any intuitive hits or gut feelings. And so any other info that you're getting, sometimes you're going to get like a mental image, and it's really good to pay attention to anything that you might get. One time when I was doing a reading for a missing elderly woman, and to see what happened to her, just out of curiosity, just for practice, right? And the cards were showing that she was no longer alive. But while I was pulling the cards, I got this feeling like I was like going to, like, really drowsy, like I was going to pass out, almost like a drunken feeling, and almost like a little bit of nausea rather. And it's this super sad story, but the lady actually did pass out while she was driving. And so that's what happened. So I knew that wasn't a coincidence. I don't usually get sudden and fleeting moments of nausea, like that when I'm reading the cards. And so that would be an example of clairsentience. There's times when maybe you'll have clairaudience, but not all the time. But if you do get that, if you do get one of the clairs while you're doing a reading, pay attention. That's not a coincidence. 9 times out of 10, it's not a coincidence. So also any mental images, that would be clairvoyance, sorry, brain fart. And yeah, so definitely pay attention to those. And the last point is also very important. It involves the golden rule. Be tactful when relaying the info to another person. So, I mean, know that sometimes people can be very sensitive, even though you're just the messenger. If you're relaying the message too bluntly, you could cause psychological problems for people who are predisposed to, mental illness or something. Or just, you might come across as judgmental. You're dealing with sometimes really sensitive issues. You want to think of yourself as the person getting the reading and how you would feel if you got that info. Of course, everybody's different, but, be sensitive, be tactful, treat others like you would like to be treated. And you need to have some ethics. Also, if someone asks you if their husband is cheating on them, that's not something I would feel comfortable with answering. I would say, sorry, I don't answer those questions. Even if I see it in the cards, you might be wrong. Sometimes there's human error involved. You don't want to say something damaging like that, because that person might not take it, they might take it too seriously, and then they get divorced, and then turns out he never did cheat on her. You really don't want that. So that's just an example. It's really good to have ethics when it comes to card reading, and to be non-judgmental and very tactful in how you handle and relay the information. So there's a lot more to card reading, but this is the basics. I hope I've helped you all. And I just want to say that if you're thinking about becoming a card reader, you don't need to be psychic. You don't need to be gifted. Anybody can become a card reader, and you get better at it with practice. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video.